So I want to move on to some more personal questions. I'd like to ask, as a member of the Scientific Advisory Board for COVID-19, you've had exposure in the media. How do you deal respectively with the positive and the negative feedback?
I must admit that when I was asked at the beginning of the pandemic to work on the issue of informing people, I was already being asked by various journalists before I became a member of the advisory committee to elaborate on the pandemic. And I'm not new to media exposure, so that was not so daunting. And I must admit, at the beginning, there was great appreciation from people for correct information, advice, and so on. But as the restriction measures were introduced from time to time when we had the flare-ups of infections, some people thought that we were responsible for closing their businesses and so on. So a lot of these people then sort of started swearing at us, using social media and what have you. I must say I chose from early on to ignore these insults, and I still do. And I'm looking forward to the day when I will no longer have to do it. I can go back to my academic life and enjoy teaching my students without having to put up with media or anybody else, by that matter.
That's the tricky part when you deal with the media. It's because you don't only speak to your students, you speak to the whole world, and the whole world is comprised of many different people and different ways of thinking and different experiences. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's most important in life for you?
Exactly, but
proceed with the previous.
At this stage what I was going to say is that there's a lot of misinformation that is present in social media. And we've been fighting against this current of misinformation for a long time now, particularly in relation to the vaccines. However, I think the tide is turning. People are beginning to realize that vaccines are extremely important, is our only weapon to allow us to return back to normality or some sort of normality. And I hope that we will succeed to convince even the ones who are staunch deniers of the existence of the virus in the first place and of the usefulness of the vaccines.
Hopefully. So I'll go to the question that I asked you before. What's most important in life for you?
At this stage in my life, I think when I decided to come to Cyprus, my intention was to offer something to my country. And I thought that would be just in the academic field. As it happened, the pandemic allowed me, I hope, and I pray that I've done this, is to help save lives, at least through the information and the advice I was giving over the media, which was far and above what I set as a target. So I'm extremely pleased that I've been given this opportunity to do something for the country where I was born, and I can withdraw gradually back to my academic duties.
Lovely. So who do you admire?
Well, I don't really have any sort of role people that I look up to, but I admire people in general, whether they're politicians, whether they are in the cultural field, in the sports field, etc., who are down to earth. They know what they're talking about, and they don't allow fame to get to their heads. I think as role models, we need a lot of such people to be around. Unfortunately, with the media and the internet as it is these days, a lot of these role models are missing, and we see a hell of a lot of other things that are not necessarily good for us or for mankind. Therefore, I don't have anybody in particular, but I sort of treasure the values that existed for so many years, and suddenly they're being eroded because of commercialism, consumerism, whatever you like call it, that rule our lives these days.
I think time will show. Time will show the ones that are true to what they believe, and they, as you said, they're not corrupted by fame. So could you tell me a favorite book that you have?
The Lord of the Rings. I remember when I was at university, I read that huge tome in about 4 or 5 days. It was such an absorbing piece of literature.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm watching
an imaginative piece of work.
No, Tolkien is amazing. He has created a universe like from scratch, languages. I'm watching them again now, these days.
Yeah.
So, a favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie. I think the one that stuck in my mind because I was at an impressionable age when it came out was The Sound of Music and Dr. Zhivago. These are the two movies I still like very much and I watch over and over again.
I haven't seen the second one. I'll write it down.
Dr. Zhivago. Oh, you must see that.
I'll take note of it.
With Omar Sharif.
So, I'll last.
I'm showing my age now, by the
way. old classics are the best. I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll go to my last question then. So, what advice would you give to your younger self, and to aspiring healthcare professionals / researchers, etc.?
I think when I was a student, it was a very difficult time for Cyprus. It was 1974. I found myself sort of penniless from one day to the next. However, I didn't sort of give up at that time. I picked myself off the floor. I dusted myself off. And I did my best to finish my degree in those days. And I chased my dream. In those days, for somebody to sort of end up in the UK from a lowly background and work in very famous hospitals, first of all, the Royal Infirmary in Liverpool, then the Royal Free in Hampstead, St Mary's later, Imperial College at the medical school there. Travel the world as part of my research work, which in some respects was quite novel and pushed the field forward. I had the opportunity, to have people work in my lab who invited me to visit their countries and talk at conferences. And I've been to places I've never imagined I would have had the opportunity to. So whatever comes in your way, don't give up. Just keep going, chase the dream, and I hope in the end you will succeed.
That's such a wonderful message to end with. Thank you so much, Professor Karayiannis. I have to say that you're an inspiring figure for me as well, and I'm sure for many other younger people in the media. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me today.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity once again.
If you enjoyed that, you can click the link in the description to watch the full podcast or listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our website. You can also ask questions in the comments below, which will be directed to healthcare professionals in our future weekly episodes. Thank you so much for watching.